What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSDMode podcast weekly real estate tip. And today I'm here to talk to you about effective lead generation strategies that are getting amazing results here in 2023. Look, I get it and I understand we are all experiencing this transaction volume decline. We've now just had 18 months of month-over-month consecutive transaction volume decline here, really all over North America. So definitely all over the United States and really all over the US and Canada. But just because we are experiencing this transaction volume decline, meaning lesser transactions taking place, lesser sellers selling, lesser buyers buying, just because that's taking place doesn't mean your business should not be kicking ass and continuing to go out there and thrive. Because something's going on doesn't mean you need to choose to participate in it. So I'm going to be breaking down some different buyer strategies as well as listing strategies to ensure, again, that you're acquiring as many customers and closing as many homes as possible in this current time that we're in. But before we do so, I want to get into just some mental mindset perspectives first. One thing that has really served me well over my 18 years of doing this, running one of the top real estate teams in the nation and on the planet, for almost 18 years now, been able to continue to grow and scale my own personal business year in and year out for the last 18 years straight, regardless of the marketplace. One of the things that served me really well and allowed me to go out there and do that is this philosophy that I'm going to share with you today. There's actually two of them. All right, number one is understanding that success is always internal. Success is never external, meaning that the market has nothing to do with your overall success. That is an external circumstance. You can't change it. I can't change it, right? Again, as I said, success is always internal. Success is never external. You and you alone dictate your overall success. All right, so then that leads me into, kind of the secondary, again, mental philosophy, mindset, whatever you want to call this here, which is that there is no such thing as a good market or a bad market. Get out of that mindset, right? Because it's so easy if we think that the market is bad and we're blaming external circumstances as to why our business might be down. Well, then we adopt a victim mindset. And what do victims do? They give up their own internal power to outside circumstances. So then they can't go out there and control those circumstances. Winners never play the victim card, right? Winners go out there and win because they take 100% responsibility. They understand that success is internal. And when I operate by this framework, this mental framework of understand the market's never good, it's never bad, it's always good for somebody, and then it forces me to going into a proactive state to identify who the current market is good for. Where are the current opportunities are at? Because here's one thing that you can always guarantee is that real estate's always changing hands. Always has, always will. Doesn't matter if we're a great financial crisis, worst housing market crash in recorded history throughout the United States, or during the Great Depression, real estate was still transacting, just like right now. I hear agents in my own market, I'll just use my own market as an example, because our market's down about 40% from transaction volume standpoint of what it historically normally is. And that really holds true for most markets. But I hear so many agents in my own market will say things like, oh man, nobody's buying, nobody's selling. Homeowners just don't want to list their homes. Buyers just aren't buying because of unaffordability, because of interest rates. Dude, there's like 5,500 transactions taking place each and every single month inside my market. Now that might sound like a lot, but you got to understand, huge metro area, 6 million people, 60,000 agents. So out of 60,000 agents, there's only 5,500 transactions taking place. So it's lesser per agent count per capita, than we're historically normal to go out there and see, and that we're used to. However, like I'm telling my own agents and my own team, dude, there's still 5,500 every single month. Like, go out there and get your 3, 4, 5. If each of us were closing 3, 4, 5 deals every single month collectively as a team, we would be crushing it. We would be kicking ass. There are deals always taking place. So our jobs as real estate professionals is to identify whom the current market is good for, where the current opportunities are at, and pivot, shift, and adapt accordingly. So then we can go out there and get ours, like get our business and go out there and close more transactions. It's funny in this given market, I'll say words like pivot, the market is shifting and changing, and these seem to be like negative trigger words that just trigger so many agents, where I constantly get a bunch of hate comments and negative feedback of, oh, the market isn't shifting, the market isn't changing, or why are you using all these fear, this fear terminology? Look, it's not fear. The market has shifted. It has changed. And then people, the feedback I get on that is, oh, well, we're still, low inventory, still seeing multiple offers. Prices are still going up. Yeah. right? And I get that, and that's what's happening in most markets. That's what's happening in my market as well. But the change in the shift that we've seen that we need to pivot to is we are in the most unaffordable real estate market to ever exist in the United States recorded history. So most markets right now are at or close to peak pricing. But when we combine that, though, so even though your market may not be total peak pricing, like my market's down right now, still about 9% of what peak pricing was in 2021. However, when we stack and combine that to interest rates today, it has now created the most unaffordable real estate market, climate, environment that we've ever seen in United States history, right? So that is, one of the reasons that is leading to this extremely low transaction volume decline, right? When shit's unaffordable and you wiped out 50% of the consumers, because nobody can, not nobody, of course, there's, obviously still transactions taking place, but when you wipe out 50% of the consumer from being able to participate in this given housing market, there's going to be lesser transactions. The other thing that is also leading to this, right, is just overall cost of life. Life today is what, about 40%, if we're speaking conservative terms, between 35 and 40%. And again, that's very conservative terms, more expensive today than it was just 3 short years ago. So we got the most unaffordable real estate's ever been, but we also have it as just the most unaffordable that life has ever been to be a U.S. citizen. Got cost of groceries going up, cost of insurance, just cost of life. It is getting more and more expensive, and it's putting a huge hurt on the average person out there. This is why we're seeing debt skyrocket through the roof, right? On all forms of debt. We're looking at the consumer credit card, all-time high credit card debt, all-time high auto loan debt, all-time high medical debt, all-time high, student tuition debt. It just keeps stacking on and on and on. And as well as all-time high mortgage debt, obviously with mortgage prices going up and, all of these things. So the average consumer is just getting hindered, just getting hurt. But that doesn't mean that there's not massive opportunities, because there 100% is. But we need to pivot accordingly. I'm having so many conversations with agents and team leaders and broker owners that are reaching out to me now at record rates that their business is down, their business is struggling. They don't know how to pivot. They don't know how to shift. I'm just going to keep using those words to trigger those that are weak-minded and allow themselves to get triggered. Right? But that aren't pivoting in this time. Common conversation that I'm having right now is, oh man, I've been in the business 10, 15 years. I built up this great book of business, meaning past client repeat referral business, and just, had so much business coming to them that they got accustomed to, doing 100 deals or 150 deals collectively as a team, year after year off of just those inbound incoming business. And now all of a sudden their business is down 50%, 60%, 70% in some cases, right? And it's because they haven't pivoted to this time. If you've been reliant on past client repeat referral business, your business is probably down 40, 50, 60%, right? Because we got, and depending on what area you're in, 40, 50, 60% of the general consumer that cannot participate in this market because real estate and life has just got so damn unaffordable. So then we need to pivot and adapt when it comes to our strategies. One thing that's really important, I want you to know and I want you to understand, is that if you don't want to experience this roller coaster of commission income that so many experience in our industry, right? So, month over month, meaning not a roller coaster ride where it's like you pop 3, 4 deals, you make a bunch of money, or if you're a collective team, maybe pop 30, 40 deals, whatever that may be. You have a great month. That's followed by, a shitty month or two. Then you have another great month or two, followed by a shitty month or two, right? That roller coaster of commission income that so many experience in our industry. If you want to avoid experiencing that, you got to have, a good business plan and good strategy, but it really comes down to month over month of having good, consistent habits to ensure that you don't have that roller coaster, right? So, but then from there, in order to have good, consistent income year over year and continue to grow and thrive in your real estate business year after year, it also then comes down to your ability to read markets. You have to have the ability to read the market and see what is going on. And you are not doing yourself any services, right? Like you're not doing yourself any help right now by being naive and discounting and thinking that the market isn't shifted and isn't changed. Market and shift doesn't mean that we went from a buyer's market to a seller's market, from an appreciating market to a declining market. That's changes can be technology driven. Changes can be just with the overall economy like we're experiencing right now. Changes can be from a buyer market, seller's market. There's lots of different changes that you are going to experience throughout the trajectory of your career as an agent, team leader, and brokerage owner. And we need to be able to adapt and shift accordingly. As the great Darwin Inman said, it's not the strongest that survive, it's he or she that adapts to the changes most effectively and efficiently. That goes out there, not just survives, but thrives. All right, so we talked about your ability to go out there and read markets. Now I want to talk to you about specific lead generation strategies to go out there and have success right now in 2023. But before I jump into that, just want to plug our sponsors that make all of this possible with this podcast, which is GSDMode, which is a podcast name here, but GSDMode.com. Make sure to go check that out on GSDMode.com. You have more free training, more free resources available to help continue in your overall success journey. Free online masterclass on there right now and so forth. But on there, there's also my coaching program, my personal coaching program. So if you're an agent, team leader, or brokerage owner looking to continue to scale your business, take your business to the next level, go to gsdmode.com, click on that coaching tab. There's a 30-minute in-depth video that walks you through everything step by step of how my coaching program works. You don't have to opt in. I'm not going to ask you for any information on there, but it walks you through how my program works, what it entails. There's also a link below that video where you can book a 100% zero pressure discovery call with me personally. Can answer any questions that you have. We can talk about your business, where you're at, where you want to go. And look, even if my coaching program isn't for you, if it's not for you at this time, or if it's on a full, whatever the reason may be, I'm going to make sure that that call is massively powerful for you. So if you want to jump on a call with me personally, talk about your business, go schedule that 100% zero pressure discovery call right at gsdmode.com under that coaching tab. Okay, so let's continue to dive in. All right, so the first thing I want to talk to you about here, which might sound, a little bit of like I'm contradicting myself here because I just talked about this a moment ago. But the first thing I do want to bring up is past client repeat referral business, right? Just because there might be lesser of this that we're experiencing. The rule of thumb is if you do this right, about 10% of your past clients, you'll do about, if you have a database of 1,000, between, 1,000 great with your sphere of influence and your past clients, that rule of thumb is, okay, if you're following up effectively, that should lead into at least 100 deals year over year. Well, we can probably pretty much cut that in half for at least most right now. And that's what most are experiencing right now. So it's going to be lesser of them in this market. But the reason why I'm bringing this up right now is, look, you got to understand that this too shall pass. This won't exist forever. Markets are always shifting, changing. Things are always taking place, always happening. Like there's going to come a time again where shit will return to whatever normal looks like at that time. And that past client repeat referral business is still really strong. But even if that's cut in half, if I went from, doing 100 deals a year from past client repeat referral business, and now I'm doing 50 deals a year from past client repeat referral business, or maybe it's, 10 down to 5, whatever it is for you, well, that's still that 5 deals or 50 deals, right? It's still, so even that number's cut in half, it's still business to be had right now. But even more importantly, you always want to be future thinking and future looking of, okay, this won't be here forever. I don't want to neglect those relationships. I don't want to neglect everything that I built out. So make sure that you have an effective past client and sphere of influence follow-up protocol. And my recommendation here, this is something that a lot of agents fall short on. We know the stats out there, 88% of buyers and sellers said they love their agent, will utilize their agent again. Only 11% ever do a repeat transaction. So most agents are really, really terrible at this. And when I say agents, I'm also speaking of team leaders and broker owners that are still in production. But most are just shitty at this. And even if you get out of production, right? Like okay, still stay in touch with those past client repeat referral, business. So then you can feed more opportunities to your agents, right? So with that, the most powerful thing that I have found that trumps everything else, from any kind of parties, any kind of gifts, anything that you can do, is your quarterly calls. So if you look at like my past client plan, it's okay. I click a button inside my CRM in Perfect Storm, automatically kicks this off for the next 20 years. So I never forget, has me call them 7 days post-closing, 30 days post-closing, and then every 90 days for the next 20 years. So I'm able to maintain that relationship. And I found that those quarterly calls to be the most significant thing, right? Then from there, you want to have other ways that you stay in touch, whether that be newsletters, whether that be, emails, whether that be social media, whether that be events, whatever, pick your pleasure of choice there of however you want to do this. For me, it's social media, mass emails, and then those quarterly calls to go out there and capitalize and maximize on past client repeat referral business. But remember, this too shall pass, right? There's going to come a time where the market, like we're not going to be here forever, right? So you don't want to drop the ball on that. Okay, so now let's talk about, and we're first going to start with buyer side as far as going out there and new client acquisition. What does new client acquisition mean? That's going to be my lead gen, lead follow-up to go out there and generate new relationships, generate new clients. So on the buyer acquisition side, I want to go through what's working really well here in 2023. And when I say what's working really well, these are things that are going really well for me inside my team and my business. And when I speak of this stuff, you guys, I'm not speaking of theory here. I'm speaking, anything you ever hear me talk about here on this podcast are true strategies that are getting results, things that I'm doing and proving in my own team and my own business. Plus right now, I have 716 coaching clients all over North America. So these are things that are working really well for them in all different markets as well. But if you look at my own team, last month, we just had a record high month. So even though we're in this transaction volume decline that most people are struggling, we just had the biggest month of my entire 18-year career last month. Well, why? Because we are pivoting strategies and doing these things that I'm talking about here. Okay, so when it comes to this, now the first thing that I want to say is earlier I talked about, because we can get into activities are important, but it's how you do those activities that is of most importance. All right, so we talked about earlier, like reading the markets, the ability to read markets. What are we seeing right now? We already talked about this, but the most unaffordable real estate market in U.S. recorded history, the most unaffordable time to be alive in the U.S. recorded history. So you need to know within your market, what are those price points that people are buying and selling? What does that look like? So what are the price points? What are so I'm looking at, like what are the cities? What are the zip codes? What are the neighborhoods? What are the price points? What are the features and amenities within those that those people are buying? Then what's the demographic makeup of the people buying that real estate? Like what does that look like? I'm putting all these pieces together. So in my market, and this also holds true to most markets, so more likely than not, this is probably going to also apply to you. But we're really looking at that 45 to 55-year-old range, married couples. So we're talking Gen Xers right now. They're in peak income earning phases of their life. So a lot of these are going to be upper middle class, more of the affluent that can afford to participate in the real estate market right now. And what I'm really focused on the buy side are move up buyers, right? So these are people that have been in a home for 10 plus years, that have an abundance of equity in their current home. They have that need, they have that desire to go out there and move, whether it's because they're relocating or just moving up locally. But again, they have plenty enough equity. They got $300,000, $400,000 or whatever that is, $200,000 in their current home. So they got plenty of equity for the down payment. They got plenty of equity if they want to do a rate buy down. They're in peak income earning years, to go out there and afford this real estate market. So the affordability isn't so much of an issue for them. The other reason that I like this cohort is that they are move up buyers. So that means in order for them to buy, they also need to sell. So even though I'm leading with the buy side here, if you're extremely strategic with this, you can get a buy side and a list side out of these. Okay, so strategy number one is open houses. Right, so when we're looking at open houses, though, we're looking at doing open houses on the neighborhoods in the type of properties that these select buyers that I just walked you through are looking to buy. And this is really important. Whatever your ideal buyer client is for your market, right? When you're doing your open houses, this is your storefront for the day, your office for the day, where you have the highest likelihood, the highest probability of them walking in that front door and for you to develop a relationship, connection, rapport with them and convert them to a client. Right? So always thinking about like what is it that they want? What are the zip codes? What are the neighborhoods? Right? What are the amenities that they want? So like I know right now our clients they don't want deferred maintenance. They want shit that's move-in ready. They're willing to pay a premium for it. They don't want to fuck around with having to go in there and do paint and carpet and upgrade shit, with the vast, with the masses of, this ideal client. Right, they're wanting move-in ready shit. So in my market, we're really focusing, again, I know what the cities are, and what those most popular neighborhoods within those cities are that they want to be in. A price point that's going to be that $600,000 to $900,000 price point in my market. Then from there, I know what the features are. Do they want 2,400 plus square feet, 4 plus bedrooms, 2.5, 3 plus bath? They want 3 plus car garages. They want swimming pools. They want it to be tricked out, move-in ready. And again, I know those price points and so forth. So that's what I'm doing my open houses on, where I know that they want in the neighborhoods that they want with the amenities that they want. That's the highest probability of them walking in and for me to go out there and meet them. So open houses. Number 2 is targeted strategic Facebook ads, right? Now, Facebook ads, the reason why I like Facebook ads and same reason why I like open houses, I got to pick and choose the price point. I got to pick and choose my targeting. So at Facebook, same thing, right? Okay, I can go out there and run ads with specifically what I know our buyers want with exactly where I know that they're coming from. So for me, for Facebook ads right now, here in 2023, I'm doing it twofold. I'm doing them, ads. I'm deploying ads on my local level, so my local market. But then I'm also very heavily deploying these ads to where people are moving to my market from. So I know the cities, and then within those cities, I know the top metros, that they're coming from. So then, here's an example with that. California, a lot of people are moving from California, relocating to Phoenix Metro. However, California is a massive state, and within that massive state and within that massive population, there's only really 3 areas that like 90% of people are relocating from California, to Phoenix from, which is San Francisco Bay Area, which is LA County, more specifically than LA County. It is the Riverside area, and then San Diego. So I'm not going to run ads targeting Redding, California, or Lake Tahoe, right? Or even Sacramento, right? Like, okay, a lot of people are moving from San Jose to Sacramento, not a lot from Sacramento to Phoenix, right? So same thing, like we get a lot of Canadians that buy down here and buy secondary homes. But within Canada, the 10 provinces, there's really only 3 provinces that people are, at least in my experience with my clientele, that are moving from. And then within the cities of those provinces, like if we look at Alberta, right? Okay, well, it's pretty much, Calgary and Edmonton, so I can get very specific with this stuff, with that targeting. But so it's not just geographically specific. It's also making sure that you're ponying up and showing them the specific types of properties and the price points that you're wanting to go. So like the same properties I'm doing open houses on are the same properties I'm showcasing, in my ads, that same subset of type of client. Okay, I'm saying type of property. So then I can go out there and attract and bring in the type of ideal client that I want. Okay, so the next one is YouTube. YouTube is just murdering it. YouTube is crushing it. It's one of the most powerful sources that I've ever seen out there. When I'm speaking of YouTube, I'm not talking YouTube paid ads. I'm talking about, free organic YouTube channels for us to go out there and grow our channels, right? But same thing. You want to be creating content that is speaking specifically to who's looking to participate and transact in this given market. So if I'm creating content right now on my YouTube channel, which I recommend that you guys do, right? It is going to be around those neighborhoods, those cities, those school districts, like where I know that my ideal client is moving in this market. In YouTube, we're talking 20% conversion ratios if you're good at it, right? If you're great at it, you can get like 40% plus conversion ratios. It's the best overall, hottest lead source that I've ever seen. Now, it does take time to build up. That's why I like stacking with things like open houses and, YouTube channel or Facebook ads, because YouTube and Facebook might be more like a 6 to 9 month, build out time, where open houses, if I need a client next week, I can go out there and crank out 2 open houses and pretty much guarantee to go out there and get a client within the next week, if I'm deploying my open houses effectively. Okay, so the last thing that we're seeing that's really successful with buyers here in 2023 is intent-based online sites. What I mean by intent-based is Zillow, right? I mean, I'll just say that. Not seeing as much success with Realtor.com. Some of you might be. Me personally, we're not seeing that internally with my own business. And then most that I'm talking to that were getting great experience with Realtor.com aren't getting the experiences that they were a year, 2 or 3 years ago. But Zillow is still performing very, very well if you have an effective follow-up protocol with this. Now, I know Zillow is really expensive. So I'm not saying to do it for everybody. You've got to make sure that you're able to be reactive. Zillow has really just replaced the modern day sign call. It's become the modern day sign call. That's essentially what it is. So I got to make sure that I'm able to answer those phones. Like I got to make sure to have a high answer rate and that I'm very good and very aggressive with my scripts and my overall follow-up protocol. Because with Zillow, if you're not converting at like at least a 5%, it's hard to get a good ROI. But really, to get that ROI amazing, you need to be closer to a 10% or greater conversion rate, which we're seeing that, if it's their work properly. So on the buy side, that's what we're seeing to be really effective right now here in 2023. Okay, so then let's transition onto the listing side. Now, again, in a market change up like we are seeing, talked about this earlier, but we need to pivot to where the business is actually at. So I'm looking at this, it's like, okay, who has a need, not just a want? Who has a need? Who's highly motivated? Who has a big need? almost who has a desperation. And I know that kind of sounds negative, but again, like who can I go out there and serve and support at the highest level that has that need, that has that desire, that needs to unload right now? That's where I want to focus my time, energy, and attention. And in a market like this, I think that we can all agree that we'd love to have as many listings as possible. As much as I love buyers, and I do, and I love buyers, but right now, I love listings a little bit more, all right? So in this low inventory environment and whatnot. Okay, so first two here, we got expireds, we got FSBOs. What I am personally seeing, they're both effective, right? But I'm seeing FSBOs right now working more effectively than the expires, right? A better bang for a buck, better conversion rate. That's not always the case in every single market. I've had many markets where expires have performed better for me than a FSBOs. But right now in this current climate, for whatever that reason may be, for myself, my coaching clients, we're seeing FSBOs perform a little bit better than expires. Now, the issue with FSBOs and expires right now today, and you might be saying this right now in your own head, is that there's lesser of them, so it's hard to have enough to go after this category. Doesn't mean you shouldn't go after it, but right now it requires a multi-pronged approach. At least for most of you, it's going to. And definitely for me, the reason why we're having a success in this market is not just because we pivot our strategies, but we're also having a much greater multi-pronged approach. What do I mean by a much greater multi-pronged approach? Okay, for pretty much the last 17 years of my career, it's been where, okay, man, if I went really deep into 2 or 3 things and was just really consistent and mastered those things and did those things, at a very deep level, okay, like I had an abundance of business. Right now, today, I'm not seeing that as much, right? Like, okay, we're getting less traffic through our open houses, there's lesser expires, lesser FSBOs as an example. So we're having to do more different approaches to go out there and get the same transaction volume, especially if you want to grow and scale like I do and continue, not just maintain. I want to beat every year. Like I want to beat out my previous year numbers. This is what I mean by, so instead of just doing, 3 things, like shit, we're having to do 8 things, right? Okay, so next thing I want to talk to you about is NODs. Now, these next few things I'm going to talk to you about here, one of the reasons why I like this, or these strategies right now, is not just that they're effective, you also have very little competition to no competition going after these. Because one thing that you can be rest assured by is that most agents, team leaders, and broker owners are absolutely shitty about adapting and pivoting strategies, right? So at least as of right now, you're going to have very little, no competition in your market going after these next 3 categories I'm going to talk about. But they have a massive need, a massive desire. So you're able to go out there and serve and support them at the highest level with very little to no competition. Unlike expires and FSBOs right now, which are very competitive, a lot of agents are going after those. Okay, the first one is NODs, notice of defaults. This is something that you probably haven't, if you haven't been in the industry for a long time, you probably haven't done, you probably haven't heard of, you probably, we haven't really seen these at a high, heavy level, since the great financial crisis of 2008 through about 2012, but very effective today. Why are they very effective today? So notice the defaults. What that means is people that are 30 plus days late on their mortgage. So they're coming behind, they're getting behind on their mortgages. So that's what we're reaching out to. We're getting the lists, and you can go to your local title companies, or you can go to third parties and buy this data, as well. But I'm getting, targeting anybody that's 30 days plus late on their mortgage. It's really important to understand right now, because we talked about this earlier, but with life being 40% or so more expensive today, the average person is getting fucking crushed right now in this market. It's just the reality of the situation. It sucks. I hate seeing it. It's sad to see, but these are people that desperately need our help to go out there and avoid this, potentially going into a foreclosure status, right? So the average person is just getting crushed when every time they go to the grocery store, it's costing more money. Every time they go out to eat, it's costing more money, with this. So there's 84 million mortgages, or over 84 million mortgages throughout the United States. Right now, you got about 3% of those that are in 30 plus day default status. And this is just continuing to increase month over month. So this is, even though there's massive opportunity right now, this is kind of the infancy stages of this. We're going to see more and more of these. Now, I'm not being, I don't want to be chicken little, skies falling. I'm not saying that this is going to put us into a great financial crisis scenario again. Look, we have such a low inventory shortage right now that it would take a lot. Even if all 3 million of these dumped on the market right now, well, if all 3 million dumped on the market right now, we'd see a decline in prices. But, that's not going to happen, right? So, anyway, with that, though, being said, you're going to have 50% of them that are going to need to participate in what is called a short sale. So if you're going to go after these, make sure that you're versed in short sales, that you understand short sales, you know how to do short sales. It's one of the reasons why, I make sure all my coaching clients are versed on all of this. They know how to work with, short sales and distressed properties. They know how to work with investors. They know how to work with traditional buyers, right? Because I want you to be well-rounded. So then regardless of what's going on in the marketplace, you're able to go out there and deploy those skill sets that you have. But about 50% are going to be in a short sell situation. So anybody that's really bought since late 2020, early 2021, more likely than not is going to be, they're going to have not enough equity to go out there and unload the property and sell the property, right? And again, depending on what market that you're in, markets are doing different things. So, this may not fully apply to your market or not, meaning, the percentage are going to short sales versus equity sales. But the reality is that they're having a hardship. That's why they're in this position right now, and they're going to need your help. Now, the other 50% or so are going to have enough equity to do a traditional sell, but they need to sell, and they need to sell fast so they can come clean with the bank, avoid the foreclosure, avoid them not losing all that equity that they have built up in their home. And a lot of these, you can go out there, get their home sold. They have enough proceeds left over, obviously, to come clean with the bank, pay all the commissions, pay all the closing costs. And a lot of times we're seeing enough money left over to, go out there and help them get into a rental and for them to pay, that rent up front for the next 12 months, to kind of turn around their family situation. So NOD's hot market right now to go after. And again, what I love in this industry is identifying, how can I go out there and hit my goals? But then at the same time, helping people that are truly in need. And also the appreciation is there, right? Like, being able to help people that, are in these tough times, at least for me, I find it a little bit more fulfilling. Okay, so then from there, let's talk about the next cohort, the next niche, if you will, are investors, right? So with investors, what we are experiencing right now, and this is going to hold true to most communities, most places, most markets. Now, not all markets, because real estate is hyperlocal, but for the vast majority of you, we're experiencing cap rate compressions for the first time in 15 plus years. So we are seeing, even though prices are staying stable or still going up in most markets or staying stable, we are seeing rents starting to come down. So cap rate compression, like if you look at my market right now, I'll use my market as an example, right? Rents are down 6% year over year. So if somebody had a 10% cap rate on a rental property, which is a typical great cap rate, for a single-family attached residential property. Well, they're probably at like a 2% cap rate today because we got a 6% pinch in that cap rate, 6% decline, but we got property taxes going up, you got insurance going up, you got core maintenance and labor going up. So they're starting to watch their year-over-year returns getting diminished, right? Well, this is a great opportunity for them to be able to exit from this investment property while they can still capitalize on getting at or close to peak pricing, but before they start losing money on a year-over-year and a month-over-month basis with that cap rate, right? So we're looking at long-term investment holders. So, I'm going after investors that own these properties right now. Then also short-term rentals. So when you look at this, we got domestic travel greatly diminishing all throughout the United States, right? And again, this is because of inflation. Life is getting fucking difficult and getting very expensive for the average person and for most people out there. And even for those that can still afford it, they read the writing on the wall and they're like, shit, man, maybe we should cut back on the luxuries to make sure that we, have plenty for the necessities, right? Like people didn't get to an affluent position by, being stupid, right? With that. So, a lot of people are contracting and going into maintenance, more conservative mode right now with their income. All right. So we feel that just Airbnb as an example. Now, when I speak of these short-term vacation rentals, I'm not just talking Airbnb, right? I mean, you got Airbnb, you got Vrbo, you got all these, plus they might just be managing themselves. I'm just using Airbnb because it's the most popular, most well-known out there. Lowest occupancy rates right now since inception of that company. Certain markets like mine, you got occupancy down 52% year over year. So these are people that acquire these. They're used to cash flowing good money on these, and they're watching that cash flow just wane and wane and wane. This is what I mean by cap rate compression. Is just going away. That's going down and down and down. And this is again, shit can change. But if the trend line continues of what we're seeing right now, like this is just going to continue to happen. So there's going to be a percentage of these that bought right, that don't need to sell. But there's also going to be a percentage that need to go out there and sell right now because of what they're seeing, or want to sell because of what they're seeing. And just keep things into perspective, you guys. Like, okay, with FSBOs right now. And our investors, the investors that we're going after this, the numbers shake out to be about the same. But about 10% of those that we're having conversations with, we are successful at getting the listing and closing those deals. Okay, so 90% are choosing not to list with us, whether it be because they want to, FSBO, let's just say they want to continue listing on their own, go with somebody else, right? Like, all I need, dude, if I'm getting 10% conversion rates on these, I'm fucking kicking ass and crushing it, right? So there's going to be, of course, more that don't need to unload than there is that those that need to unload. But it's just a numbers game. It's how this shakes out. Okay, so the last cohort I'll talk about as far as going out there and getting listings right now are absentee owners that are baby boomers. These are people that bought, and what I'm speaking of specifically, because I'm really niching down here when I'm talking about going to these listings, or going after these listings, are those that bought secondary or third homes, fourth homes that are vacation homes for them, snowbirds, whatnot there. Now, the common pushback I get on this is, well, dude, aren't most of those homes free and clear, or don't they have low mortgages with low interest rates? Yeah, that is true, right? When we're going after this category. However, baby boomers, the vast majority have entered retirement phase. They're on fixed incomes. Every life is 40% more expensive today than it was just 3+ short years ago. Yeah, right. So they're feeling that pain, they're feeling that pinch when they're on this fixed income, and it's getting harder and harder and harder to maintain that lifestyle. So a lot of them are having to unload these vacation homes, or these, secondary homes or third homes, right? Because just the life situation is calling for that. Now, when we get these absentee, if you're in a market like mine that has a very popular for snowbirds here in Phoenix, well, a lot of them are saying, well, we're going to choose to make Phoenix our primary home. So we're going to stay in Phoenix, not sell that property, but we're going to unload our property maybe in New Jersey, right? Okay, well, great, right? Like, I don't get that listing in that situation, but in a lot of cases, I can turn that over into, well, do you have an agent there that you're working with? If not, I know some amazing agents there. I can do an introduction and make sure that you get the right agent, that they get the job done, make sure you got a great experience, right? And I can go out there and get the referral side of that. So there's multiple ways to go out there and win with these. All right, so you guys, as we just recap this, right? So what it's taken right now, it's taken a multi-pronged approach, and it's taken us really niching down and being very strategic in this market. But if you're willing to do it, and if you're willing to put in the work, you will go out there and crush it and thrive during this time. The reason why most are struggling right now is, number one, they're not willing to go out there and pivot and adapt, and number two, they're not willing to put in the work. Man, I can't tell you how many people I talk to, even agents sometimes in my own organization, right? They're like, oh man, my business is down, I want to go out and turn things around. I give them the complete roadmap, and then they don't do shit with it. I'm like, here's the people to call. I can even give you the fucking numbers to call. I can give you all the scripts. I can create the schedule for you, telling you who to call, when to call them, what time to call them, what days to call them, all the exact scripts. Yeah, right. But then they still don't call them, right? So, some people they say they want success, but they really don't want it, right? Because words are hollow, actions show what we truly value. But for those of you that truly want success and truly want to go out there and continue to thrive, look, right now is an amazing time to go out there and frickin' just crush it and just murder it and continue to grow and scale and thrive your business, thrive inside your business. So anyway, I hope that you found this helpful. Again, make sure to check out GSDMode.com for more additional free training, free resources. Make sure to check out my coaching program if you were looking to be coached and mentored by me personally, where you have access to every single thing inside my business. We're not just access to it. Not only do I just train you on everything of what to do and how to do it, I just give you everything too. You get access to my entire playbook, all my manuals, everything in my business. I just give it to you in editable format. And then you have daily access to me personally, 7 days a week, to support you every step of the way through your success journey, so we can remove any excuse or reasons as to why you don't succeed and murder it on building your own agent business, building your team, building your brokerage, whichever level that you're at, and whatever your goals are. I'm here to support you at the highest possible level. So if you're looking for the most effective coaching that exists in the industry, while at the same time, hands down, the most affordable, it breaks down to being about $5 a day, to go through this experience and work with me, because my commitment is to make it the most effective, at the same time the most affordable. Again, check out GSDMode.com, hit that coaching tab. You can learn more about it. You can also sign up and get started right there on the website, but you can also book that zero pressure discovery call with me personally. It's going to be me showing up on that call, having that call with you, at least as of the time of me recording this. I don't know what the future holds, but as of right now, it's me personally doing these calls with you to make sure that we're a fit for each other, answer any questions that you have, and help you get dialed in inside your business. All right, you guys, we'll keep crushing it. We will talk to you soon. Peace.